Well, in recent days, Bitcoin briefly touched $1 trillion of market capitalization. Call that half an Apple, or if you prefer, two Samsungs. But the volatility has been quite spectacular. What's going on here?
Well, the news for Bitcoin has been broadly very good for the last few months. You've had an incontinent government, both in terms of fiscal policy and monetary policy. You have Elon Musk getting in on the game, which is always good for volatility. You have the whole GameStop saga, and all that, funneling a bunch of money into a still very new, immature, current, money hopeful that is effectively fixed in supply. So that makes for a pretty volatile combination.
Now, Elon Musk, last week's second richest guy, I believe. What's his role in all this?
So Musk announced in early February, or Musk and Tesla announced that they were putting $1.5 billion, or I shouldn't say are putting, they already did put $1.5 billion worth of their treasury cash holdings into Bitcoin. That, last I checked, is about 10% of their treasury account. So, it's not going to make or break them, but it's not peanuts either. At the same time, they said we may, and this one was a bit less committal, but we may exchange cars for Bitcoin in the future.
Now, you mentioned GameStop. What's the link there apart from extreme volatility?
Well, the link there, at least that I draw, I haven't heard a whole lot of people talking about this, but the link that I draw is, you had Robinhood and Interactive Brokers and a number of other brokers who had to suspend trading on these volatile stocks, most notably GameStop. And that was reportedly, and I believe the main reason for it was due to collateral calls that they were getting from the clearinghouse. And that collateral is required for that T+2 settlement period. Now, if we can get that settlement period, it's been coming down over the years, but if we can get it shorter, that presumably means less collateral is required, and there's less propensity for brokers to have to suspend trading on shares. So while there was always an incentive to get T+2 down to a shorter period, this just lit a fire under that push. And there's some people who think that cryptocurrencies are the way to do that, that once you have blockchain-enabled trading of assets, that you can get the settlement period down to almost instantaneous. And so that presumably also helped fan the flames of the Bitcoin rally.
And does that mean that Bitcoin is money, or could one day become money?
Well, first of all, I will say that Tesla putting some of its money in its treasury account is exciting, and also saying that they're going to accept Bitcoin for payment. Any new user that Bitcoin gains is an improvement in their chances of success. And any day that Bitcoin lives on and gains value and gains users, their chances of success rise. So I don't want to discount that. However, this is one Fortune 500 company doing it. It's a very unusual move. Treasury cash holdings are usually things that are pretty boring, low risk, low volatility assets. I don't know how many other corporates are going to want to do the same. Musk has a very lively following, and he knows that if he goes out and says, I'm putting money in Bitcoin, he knows the price is going to go up. And so in a way that, at least in the near term, reduces some of the risk for him. Now it could still end badly. He seemed to apparently fan the flames of the GameStop rally, and that eventually faded as well. So to answer your question, I think all of these developments are on the margin positive for Bitcoin. However, I think it's way too early to hoist the mission accomplished banner. Bitcoin is still really not used as money. There's a lot of speculation going on, but very few pizzas and cars and whatnot have been purchased yet with Bitcoin. So that remains to be seen.
There are clear disadvantages to Bitcoin as a unit of account and as a means of exchange. But could it become a reserve of value?
So my issue with that is, if Bitcoin is not money, or doesn't have hope of becoming money, what value does it have to store? So most goods have, most goods are valued either for their direct use value to the person who's thinking about buying it, or for their exchange value, what they think somebody else will want to buy it from them from. Money is unique in that it is valued purely for its exchange value. Nobody ever uses it for anything other than for exchange. But very few assets get to be money. It's the ultimate popularity contest, and usually one wins out. It's just a lot more convenient to use one. And the reason we have a whole bunch of currencies in the world is because governments have effectively carved up the world economy into different tax jurisdictions and said, everyone's got to use our money of choice to pay taxes. And if everyone in that jurisdiction has to use that money for nothing else other than taxes, it gives it a huge advantage in that popularity contest. Okay, so that's kind of going back a little bit. That's why I think the fundamental uphill battle that Bitcoin has to fight. Maybe it can overcome it. I have my doubts. Now, on the store of value issue, a lot of people have started saying, okay, well, Bitcoin has this, tax disadvantage to fiat currencies. It's costly to transact, energy intensive to transact, slower than Visa and MasterCard, that kind of thing, in terms of the number of transactions that can be done per second. But actually, maybe Bitcoin doesn't need to be money. Maybe it could just be a store of value like gold. Again, gold has other direct use values. Now, I'm completely aware that a lot of gold is held out there purely for its future exchange value. But ultimately, somebody out there will use it for something, or at least some people do use gold. If I have investment gold and decide I want to sell it, and a bunch of other people do that, and the price of gold falls, on the margin, you'll have people coming out and saying, okay, at that price, I'll add to my jewelry. I'll use it for electronics. I'll use it for things that right now are not economically feasible. And so there is that counterbalancing direct use value, and ultimately, I think, supports the exchange value of gold. Bitcoin doesn't have that. There's no direct use value of Bitcoin. So it's money or bust. It either becomes money or has hope of becoming money, or it's worth nothing. Now, maybe it will be worth money someday. Maybe it will be a successful money someday. And you can argue in certain small corners it already is, but I have my doubts about how far it can go, given that the governments have a pretty firm hold on the fiat currency game.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.